It's great to have our first party conference, and we're going to focus on the three key areas that we think the next election will be fought on, the things that really matter to people's daily lives, and that is on the economy. Unlike the other main parties who want to raise taxes and increase regulation, we're putting forward a bold plan to cut taxes for the lowest paid, the least well off, the smallest businesses. We need to grow our way out of this crisis, not tax our way back into austerity. The second thing we're announcing is how we get down to zero waiting lists on healthcare, which is so critical. We've got a healthcare crisis with millions and millions of people on long waiting lists. We know, and we're going to set forward a plan how to get zero waiting lists within 18 months with a bold reforming scheme. And then the third thing we're going to be announcing is our energy plans, because it's quite clear we're also in the middle of an energy crisis. People's bills are going through the roof literally as we speak. And that's because of a decade of mismanagement under Tory rule. And we'll be putting forward a bold reforming energy plan so that we can be net smart as we cut emissions, unlike the Tory policy that we believe is actually net stupid. And we'll also be putting forward plans in order to protect British consumers and to cut bills. We believe actually that we need to, the taxpayer, we need to nationalise 50% of all our public utilities so that we can cut costs and get a win-win between good private sector management of utilities, but also that the taxpayer doesn't get ripped off as it is at the moment. So those are the three key things. They're the things that affect people's daily lives, and that's what we're going to be putting forward today.
I suppose I would put it to you in a brazen way, in that you're holding it in the same city as the Conservative Party on their launch of the conference day. You're unashamedly going after Tory votes, aren't you? In a similar way, perhaps, that, you know, in the way that the Brexit vote used to be direct competition then for the Conservatives. You're hoping that at the next election you can do the same thing.
Absolutely. I mean, we thought we'd make it easy for everybody by having it in the same city on the same day, and that's been very well received by the media, by disaffected Tory voters. It makes sense, and we're the party of common sense. And you see, the truth is that the Tories have now, they've moved. They're now what I call the con-socialists. They stand for high tax, high regulation, low growth. We're the only party standing for cutting taxes, for trusting the people, putting more money in people's pockets, particularly the lowest earners, the least well-off, small businesses. That'll be the engine, the rocket fuel of the economy as we recover. So yes, we're going after disaffected Tories, but with our energy policies, for example, nationalising 50% of all our utilities, we think that will appeal to voters across the whole spectrum because it makes sense, it protects consumers, and it stops us being ripped off by overseas owners who are making huge profits at our expense at this, you know, really difficult time for everybody.
And clearly you're eyeing an opportunity as well in the fact that, you know, so far many people describing the Labour Party as being an ineffective opposition. But of course, opposition always has this position of advantage over whoever's in government, because you can make these promises. You're not the ones that have to balance the books. It's very easy to say, we'll be the party that cuts taxes. Conservatives, believe you me, they want to cut taxes, but they can't. We've been through Brexit.
They clearly don't, because they've just announced the biggest tax rise.
Yes, but because they have to try and deal with the economic crisis that we're facing. So how would you deal with the challenges after we've had an exorbitant period of borrowing throughout the pandemic, where we've had people on furlough for months and the government has basically been supporting households? How would you balance the books if you're not going to raise taxes?
But it's very simple. You have to grow your way out of the crisis. And by higher growth, then you get higher wages, you get higher tax revenues in the medium term. The truth is that the government's balance sheet, the amount of debt we've got on the books, national debt, actually is affordable if we grow our way out of the crisis. Most people don't realise that for 30 years between the two world wars, our national debt was well over 50% more than it currently is. Countries like the US, like Singapore, they have higher levels of debt than we do. We don't need to be rushing back into austerity to try and repay this debt. What we need to be doing is get the economy growing. And if we grow faster, that's how you reduce debt over time. We've got record low interest rates. We can do this. We should be putting money into people's pockets, not giving it to civil servants to spend that money on our behalf. The truth is, an individual or a small business will always get more value, more bang for the bucks on a pound in their pocket than a civil servant spending it on your behalf. That's how you get growth, and that over the medium term is how you get higher tax revenues to invest in better public services. It's all doable. On our website, reformparty.uk, you can see the detailed numbers behind our economic vision. and I would urge all your viewers to go there and have a look, and all the numbers are there.
Richard, we can't deny that this Reform UK conference, as is the Conservative conference, taking place at a time when the UK is in crisis. We have forecourts that are running dry. We've got, supermarkets that have empty shelves. We've got bills going through the roof for energy bills. You talk about a bold plan that you have for energy. I'm asking you, if you were handed the keys to number 10 today, how would you deal with the HGV shortage, with the crisis that's facing the UK today?
I think the point on the energy crisis is that it's due to a decade of mismanagement by the Tories. They've essentially made us vulnerable to Putin, to dodgy French connectors, and the like. We've got to have a medium-term energy plan that makes us self-reliant. We need to be using the cheap, affordable, safely accessible gas literally under my feet as I speak, in the north of England, shale gas that the Tories promised 4 years ago that they would use, but then they bottled it. So, we need to use our own energy, our own gas, and then that's the reason why, in order to protect consumers, to cut prices over the medium term, that's why we need to nationalise 50% of all our utilities. We're being ripped off, literally, by these greedy private sector owners of all our utilities. And with regard to the fuel crisis, again, it's total mismanagement by this government, because what's happened is, because so many people have lost trust in the government, when the government ministers say there's no fuel crisis, don't worry, basically people have come to believe exactly the opposite. So it requires leadership. It requires the Prime Minister to be on the front foot, to urge people, fill up with 30 or 40 quid's worth, not 60 or 80 quid's worth. He's nowhere to be seen. He's completely absent without leave. He needs to show some leadership. He needs to be on the front foot, give people confidence. I don't know why it's taken 8 days to get army drivers.
What would you do practically that's different?
Way too long. It's just incompetent, slow leadership.
The GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.